But I need to apologize. I was so busy with reopening the computer, I forgot to present Rami. Maybe it's because everybody knows you already, but I do need also to say a few words. Rami is a professor of social work at Bar-Ilan University and a professor emeritus in Hebrew University. School of Social Work, not only is so old, but he's very prestigious. And he's a close collaborator. He was the head of research at Xarov Institute, and he was also my teacher, among many others. So,
I didn't know that I have this blemish on my
yeah. But we do have a few minutes, and that's why I pressed everybody to keep in time, because we have another 15 minutes for questions, and I will open the floor. Please ask quick or short questions so people could respond, and more than one could ask them. Alex.
Question for Rami. I think from what we can see about the emphasis on the education is that the whole cohort isn't doing that well in terms of getting a book and achieving the opportunity for higher education. I think there needs to be like a follow-up study at the end of their, if they do go to the Army service, because a lot of you, especially you, which was disadvantaged, have a chance to do מכינות and השלמת בגרות, and to see if maybe there's some kind of peak, some kind of change in their opportunities, because most of us did not graduate high school with a full
Some of you.
Some of us did, yeah.
Thank you, Alex. I did not ask you to ask this question, but thank you for asking. Because right now, Anat and myself and where is she? Sophie? Sophia went out for a minute in the Central Bureau of Statistics, actually studying the core that is by now 27 years old. And we are trying to see their outcomes, whether they went to higher education, employment, and so on and so forth. So hopefully we'll be able to answer these kind of questions in the future.
Dolly.
Rami, do you have any statistics in your new report about how what they did in the Army?
Well, talking about data, the Army is a very difficult place.
That's why I'm asking.
We need some kind of diskette like Anat Kam had, you know, to get their data, but short of that, it's very, very difficult, and we are in constant negotiations. Negotiations sometimes are successful, and we do hope, perhaps with your help, to convince them, and because these are very, very important pieces of information, and we don't have access to.
I would like to tell a short story that will challenge your research. Many, many years ago, I worked in adoption, and I sent to adoption a 7-year-old girl who stayed from birth to 5 years old in an institution and then in foster care for 2 years. When she was 23, 4, she found me and asked me, why did you put me for adoption? I remember a very good foster care. She was then after a first degree in the university. And that is the question. I told her what were the reason. I remember, thank God I remembered her story. I told her, she said, you were right. But she finished first degree, she was on the way to the second degree in the university. If she would stay with a mother, no chance. With a foster care, no chance. So there are some more questions.
Doesn't it challenge your position? If that's possible, why it doesn't happen more?
You have not the possibility to do it always, and you want to keep children with their parents. I think that's the main thing that you have. Now that we try to keep children at home. We have these emergency centers, so the children will stay only for a short while, and we will connect the parents and children together. But if you are talking about high level of education, that is another question.
Thank you, Miriam. Nikki.
Well, it's really almost a technical question, but I'm just curious. Looking at it in front of my eyes, I see the graphs that you had before. Do you have a way of finding out how much of the variance in the achievements of the children is explained by their family background and how much by the place where they were educated?
Not directly. I think it's a very fair question, and we should investigate it more. I hope that when we know a little bit more about their placement career, we could enter information about how many times, how long, and see how it factors in, whether it explains above and beyond the family background. So we know there is a very strong family background, but this was controlled, and we still have these huge differences. So the achievement gap cannot be explained by the family background, the simple madat tipuach kind of stuff. So there might be other things as well, including how was their kid.
Any more?
Sure.
Tal and then Bob, yeah.
It's a question for you. I wonder what is phase 2 after you discovered that there are a lot of children that were sexually abused. How is the state going to create projects or other things in order to ease the children to disclose what happened? Do you have any child advocacy centers or something like that?
Yes. First of all, we have, and that is a comment to you, to your presentation. We have a discussion to distinct very clear between prevention and intervention. And I think this is really important to make this clear distinction on a practical level as well as on a scientific level. And on in Germany we raised some new intervention strategies, which are very close to a community network, and we try to make policy and experts capable to negotiate with the children, and the children get a right to be involved what happened to, if it is a victim of sexual abuse in the family or in an institution, the children has the right to know what happens, to say, to make some decisions together with this network which supported the children. But until now we have no empirical evidence how it works. But and another aspect is that we have since 2012 we developed new rights on a national level, and every teacher or social worker has now the duty, if they know a child who experienced sexual abuse, they have to involve a special qualified expert before they do something. For example, do spontaneously talk to the mother in the family, or go to the police, or whatever they want to do spontaneously. They have the duty to involve this special expert, and this is as well a new and I think important strategy. But there is there are more problems and limitations, but one limitation is that we don't know how these experts are qualified. So there are several courses, and we don't know enough about the standards of qualification of these special experts on sexual abuse in family or in institutions.
Bob.
So if we can, all agree that childhood sexual abuse is a bad thing, then it's really an issue of whether it's the collective or the institution or institutional abuse. Whether or not other adults are paying attention, are protecting these children from the perpetrators, right? It's people may know about the Penn State example, and that's the football example, or Notre Dame is the same thing. How the collective has protected these abusers because of their positions of power, and other powerful people have let them do this. So You know, I really believe that it's less, if we put the onus on children to report, like you said, they have to tell people 8 times. That's not gonna, I don't believe that's gonna change. But it really requires more than, because it's something that is not as obvious as physical abuse or even a neglectful situation. Sexual abuse is something that you have to know the signals of. It's really placed upon adults to recognize sexual abuse in children. And so the training really has to happen to adults, to go to an adult or even a friend and say, I've been sexually abused.
One more comment?
I was wondering, you said that in this city, this project went on for 15 or 20 years. So is there any way to know if, in fact, sexual abuse was reduced? Not only the opinions of the students after the program.
No, there's no data about that. That they can say this program has this effects on reducing sexual abuse in the family or in the institutions. What we can say is that there is, compared to, for example, the other city where we have our control groups, that there is a more open-minded culture in the schools to, for example, to do some courses to realize the signals of sexual abuse in childhood. So that is what one can observe, but there is no data on, because of this dark figure of sexual abuse. We have these criminal reports on a communal level and so on, but there are no effects on it.
I think we need to close. Yael, a short comment, and then I'll let the discussant say something, and then I will sum up.
No comment, just a short question. For Professor Anderson. I wanted to ask if you have like a national policy about treatment or a special budget to give an emotional treatment to therapy to those children that when the state discovers that they have been sexually abused, then you have to treat them.
Yeah, that's right. It's a big issue in the German debate. There are, let me say, two lines in the discussion and in the political strategy. One line is that we now know from adult victims how hard they are affected by what happened to them when they were children, and how hard it was for them to get access to the health care system, to get a therapy, for example, which helps really, and so on. And from that point of view, we have now, we try to convince the health system to get more resources into therapy, access to therapy for children and young people. And what we can see is that there is a more or less high level in the cities, but a low level in rural parts of the country to get a therapist which is able to work with a child who experienced sexual abuse. So this is a big issue, and the health insurance is not that good for these cases. So, and we are negotiating with the health system to protect it in a better way.
Rami wanted to say a few words, and I'll let Muhammad say the
If
final word.
I want to connect your presentation with what we have heard from God. I think that what strikes me is that on the one hand, we are describing a huge social problem of a magnitude. You were talking about it. All these numbers are also only a very small part of the real problem. And then we went on to discuss community theater. It goes to 4th and 5th grade 3 times, not 1, 3 times. And that's our response, or finding therapists, our response to a social major problem. I think somehow we have to think on a system level. I mean, if it's happening in institutions, do we have a way of making sure that certain people won't work in it? Do we have a complaint procedure in every one? Do we have in every school, in every class, a teacher that knows how to talk about it? I mean, if you are talking about a society and a system, you cannot do PPP or a community, this project and that project, and invest so much in evaluating. We need to do something on a larger scale.
Sabrina, you want to
No, I can. Yes, let me add, because from the point of view of theory of childhood, then we can discuss in which way children are in principle vulnerable in the generational order. So as David Finkelort described, for that we have to change the system, and we have to clarify and to make it concrete, the rights of the children, especially in institutions where they have no choices for their companions or for other adults. So we can discuss this, what you said, and I agree with you from a theoretical point of view of the generational power structure.
Muhammad.
Thank you. Somehow I have the anxiety that I did not deliver the message as if I was understood as saying that models and the modalities of intervention and prevention that were developed in the West or individualistic studies cannot be applied in collectivistic studies. That is not the case. I did not really mean to deliver this message. The message was to say that if these interventions, which were developed and tested in individualistic studies, were proven to be effective and successful, when we try to apply them in our work with collectivistic studies. However, we should be aware, in my opinion, to cultural, social, political processes, dynamics, norms, values, you just name it, that characterize collectivist studies and that may affect our success or failure in applying these models. Taking into consideration, oftentimes that collectivist studies do not have the resources to develop their own models. And as such, they have to borrow the knowledge and the interventions that were developed abroad. So it's nothing, in my opinion, nothing wrong in borrowing that knowledge and experience. But we try to borrow it and apply it in a sensitive way, mainly in non-judgmental way. Of course, the focus, in my opinion, the victim is the individual, it's not the collective. But I can say this message 25 hours a day, but no one will listen to me in the collective society. And it happened to me in my work with abusive husbands and abused women. This is my main focus. So what I'm trying to say that we have to be sensitive in applying these successful models and modalities that were developed in individual studies. We should not apologize for borrowing that knowledge and experience, but we should do that sensitively, diligently, and very, how should I say that, in our general concept, in some way politically correct manner.
Thank you, Muhammad. I don't think anybody really understood it, but I think now it's even clearer. I want to wrap up and thank you everybody for coming. I have two messages to share with you. One is that, and it was referred to, the Xarov Institute is hosting a conference on May 22, which David Finkelov is going to open and talk about sexual abuse of children. It's going to be in collaboration with, I don't know how to say it in English, מכון לחקר הטיפול בחינוך, the JDC Brookdale Meyer Institute, which is hard to say anyway because it has a very long name. So that's one thing, and we will continue to talk about those issues. I want to thank you for staying here. I want to thank the discussants of this panel and the first panel. I think we had a very broad spectrum today of cultures, professions, point of views, empirical, theoretical, and I think that's the right way to do it. And I want to say special thanks to Karen Admon, which is probably running around here and fixing things, who organized this day. And we hope to see you in the future events of the Xarov Institute. Thank you very much.